Namaste. It's Pamela Aaralyn here. And you know that time of the year is coming up. Therefore, I wanted to discuss something with you. There's a reason why I titled this video Compassionate Christmas Confessions, because I have some confessions to make. Number one, I don't celebrate Christmas. Surprise! So with that being said, I don't celebrate it in the way that most other people do. I don't put up Christmas trees. I rarely send out gifts. It's very rare that you'll see me attending a holiday event, things of that nature. I'm not resistant, I'm not opposed, but I just simply don't feel the need to celebrate it. The reason being is because as a clear conduit channel, I do channel in certain beings that many people in religious communities assume are related to Christmas, and those beings have told me that they are not indeed related to Christmas. Those beings include Jesus, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and all the ones that you would know in the Christian religion and the Catholic religions as well. So with that being said, when I do, and many people have asked me this, especially what is Jesus' opinion of Christmas, and I'm going to tell you what he has said to me about Christmas that caused me to stop celebrating it. He said to me, and this was a couple of years ago, the energies of Christmas and the feelings behind Christmas that are meant to be celebrated are joy, bliss, love, and compassion. Humanity has brought something else into it. That's what he said to me. And I knew exactly what he meant. He didn't have to say further. From my perspective, humanity has brought in commercialism, greed. There's some levels of catalyst stuff going on wherein you show up at family events and you're catalyzed like crazy until you want to go home crying and in a fetal position. It's just not my game. I don't enjoy it. Okay? So with that being said, I came today to confess that I really don't partake in Christmas very often, and that I do sometimes get invited to events, and I go and I celebrate the presence of my friends and family because I celebrate my love for them. I celebrate my joy for them. I celebrate my bliss. And when they want to celebrate something, I celebrate right alongside them, but it's not Christmas I'm celebrating with. And that's not what it's about. For me, it's me celebrating my friendship with them and my gratitude for them, my joy for being around them at that particular point in time. So, yeah, I don't celebrate Christmas. And I would like to know in the comments if you do. And we're going to be doing a channeling. I publicly channel some beings that you may know. Mother Mary, the Mother Mary channeling is coming up very soon, here in about a week. If you'd like to get some information about that, you can join my teaching and learning group at facebook.com/groups/Aura Reader. And you can get your updates on following my channelings. For those of you who know me from channeling Jesus, I channel many other beings as well. So I'm so excited to share the Mary Magdalene perspective. It's very similar to Jesus' perspective with a lot of detail and a lot of relation to historical events. So you're going to have a lot of fun with that. She has her own perception of Christmas too, which I can definitely answer those questions during the channeling. But I would like to give you some tips about how just to survive these sort of situations, because a lot of you have said to me, even though I don't particularly celebrate Christmas, there are many loved ones in my life that do, and I would like to celebrate alongside them. So for those of you who would like to do that, my tips are as follows. Number one, honor yourself. Ask yourself the following question. Do I really want to celebrate Christmas? And how do I want to celebrate it? So the how becomes very specific. Do I want to go, to mom's house, dad's house, grandmother's house, cousin's house, friend's house, whoever it may be? Number two, I know what's going to happen. Why am I resistant to it? Go into the resistance process, which is on YouTube, by the way, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. Resistance is when you are opposed to something that might actually be good for you. And I don't mean good for you like, oh yeah, you should go and argue with your family members and go into that sort of trauma, which is probably going to happen. I don't mean good for you meaning it's going to feel good. I mean good from the level of knowing that it is spiritually catalyzing you to effectively integrate everything that you need to integrate to go forward in your spiritual path. It gives you a beautiful opportunity to assert boundaries for purposes of self-love. So, with that being said, that's why I created the boundaries process. And the best way to utilize the boundaries process is from a space of compassion. So you would just go to these events, and when they try to make you eat the food that you probably don't eat, because a lot of my followers are vegan, and when you guys start discussing religion that you're probably not a member of, because a lot of you just aren't quite there with religion, and when all these things that you know are going to naturally occur do occur, you can follow the steps that I listed in the boundaries process, which I did list on aurareader.com, by the way, under processes, under my blog and under processes. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of how to go through the boundaries process during Christmas with some specifics. Food. People have asked me so much about food. I get it. I'm vegan too. Very, very difficult for me because at age 17, I started deciding that I wanted to be vegan, and I got all the standard remarks of, oh, you need to eat a cheeseburger, or, oh, do you feel bad about the poor little animals? Like, I seriously got chastised. And so many different things, and, oh, are you afraid to gain weight because you could probably use it, and all those little different judgments that come from 3D reality and the family members that we love so much around us. You're going to get exposed to that. So with that being said, go into the boundaries process straight away. Number one, step one in the boundaries process, validate how the person might be feeling, even if you don't agree with their opinion. This might be really hard, especially when they're being rude. So when people are being really rude and they don't quite know it, I try to remind myself, especially from the perspective of having channeling beings like Yeshua, he has complete compassion and he understands that people just don't know what they're saying and they don't really know how rude it is. So try to put yourself in their shoes. They're making conversation. They probably haven't seen you in a year or two. They probably offended you at the last gathering. So they've got all that in their heads. And they're coming from the perspective of just trying to make conversation and sometimes trying to get you to laugh and sometimes trying to just ease up the moment. And other times they're being downright snarky and rude. With all of that being said, go into step one with compassion by trying to understand where they're coming from and that they don't really know what they're saying. When this happens to me, this is how I utilize the boundaries process. I will say to people, say someone said, maybe it's okay that you're vegan because you probably could stand to lose another 30 pounds. That was recently said to me, by the way. And I responded with the boundaries process, and this is what I said. I said, what I'm hearing you say back to me, this is called mirroring, by the way. What I'm hearing you say back to me is that you think that I could stand to lose another 30 pounds. What I think that you mean by that is that I'm still fat. The reason why I was so harsh in my interpretation with them is because I wanted them to know how I could be possibly interpreting what they're saying and how that could possibly mean, how I could possibly discern that in a negative facet. So, and of course, most people, when you mirror back something that they said that could potentially be rude or intrusive, they will immediately listen to what you're saying in their own voice and say, well, no, actually, no, I didn't mean it that way. And it kind of gives them a chance to clarify. And it poses a space for peaceful conflict resolution during what would otherwise become a very triggering moment. Okay? So step two, go into the boundaries process by saying, I validate that you might feel that way. Validation is very important even if you disagree. And even if you feel that they're being rude. So when I applied step two in this particular ordeal, I went ahead and said, well, I can see why you would feel that way because you're used to seeing me very thin. The last time you saw me, I was, a good 120 pounds. And now it's much more. I've had some kids since then. Life happens, So, and I said, I can validate how you might feel that way. And then, of course, they backed up even further. And then they were like, well, I just want to make it clear that I really didn't mean to say that you, blah, blah, blah. And then it got a little easier and things toned out. And the conflict just really didn't go in that direction like I thought it would. Okay? Step three, you want to go ahead and put forth a boundary. In this case, the peaceful conflict resolution was already there. We were at peace. We had a laugh about it. She apologized for calling me fat, even though she really didn't. That was my interpretation, and I get to choose how I interpret what other people think of me. It was still something that I was interpreting in a negative facet, and then once peace was involved and conflict resolution occurred, we were both peaceful and laughing, and it was fine. But beyond that, if you go into some more serious ordeals with boundaries, you want to go into step 3. So step 3 is when you get to lovingly assert a boundary. So you start out with gratitude. You want to defuse the possible bombs that are headed in your direction. And this is how you do it. Gratitude is the energy frequency that does just that. So you would start out by thanking them. So if you have a serious situation and someone, you really need to put forth a boundary, at that point you would need to say, okay, I just want to let you know that I'm grateful for what you do in my life. I'm grateful for something they've done recently. If it's something at work, if you don't know them very well, maybe you're grateful for them doing such a good job. If you know them very well in your life, you would say, I'm grateful for our friendship or our relationship. I'm grateful that you watched my kids last week. You can make it very specific or very general. That's going to depend upon the nature of the relationship that you have with the family member. Okay? Show gratitude. Step number 4, go ahead and assert your boundaries. So that starts with however, and then insert in the blank your boundary. So at that point in time, I would say, however, I would really appreciate it. I don't say, please do this. I don't even say, do this, do that, not even with please preceding it. I just say, I would appreciate it if you would consider, and then my boundary comes in. I would appreciate it if you would consider, being advised that I'm a little sensitive about my weight. So yeah, that would be the situation from then on in that boundary. And then I would say, thank you again, and I love you. Those are steps 4 and 5. So that is all of my boundaries process is listed in much more detail on my website. Let's go into resistance a little bit, because I've talked to some of you today regarding the holidays, and you just felt so conflicted about whether or not you should even go. And that is where honoring yourself comes up, because it's very true in the spiritual communities what people are saying, what you resist persists. This holds true at this time of the year as well. If you're sitting there thinking, I really don't want to go to this event, I really don't want to go to this event, I really don't want to go to this event, then of course you're going to build yourself up and psych yourself up for not wanting to go. So with that being said, lose resistance, honor yourself, go deeper into meditation and ask your inner child the question, do I really want to celebrate this holiday in this specific manner? Okay? If the answer is no, honor yourself and change it. And then go backwards into the boundaries process to change it. So, further into resistance, if the answer is yes, if you've asked your inner child that and they have said yes, it would be wise to proceed further into my boundaries process, which, by the way, is listed in all of its steps on YouTube. So then you'll begin to visualize the event. Try to get in a meditative space, close your eyes for a moment, breathe deeply, and visualize the event that you're going to, where you're going to see, the family members for Christmas, and you would say, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is the event as I'm seeing it, and observe what actually might be making you upset about this event. What are you actually afraid of? So you say, okay, I'm going to this event. What's so bad about that? Step number 1, that's the question. What's so bad about that? And then all these things are going to come up. Mom's going to say this, and Dad acts this way, and my brother's in the middle and likes to get in everyone's business, and so creepy uncle's going to show up, and so who drinks a little bit much and has a tendency to get inebriated, and then I have to drive him, is going to show up, and yeah, these are the scenarios that we all don't like to talk about, but I'm going to. So all these things are going to happen. Go through those events that you think are going to be bad, okay, and ask yourself, what is so bad about that? And pay attention to your emotions, and then say, okay, well, how would I feel if that happened? Okay? What could I possibly stand to learn from that? That's the hard one. Because if you do have to deal with those family members, what you could possibly stand to learn would be that you would go backwards into the boundaries process, and you would be learning, because you would be asserting boundaries for purposes of self-love, for your own spiritual development, and it is the ultimate catalyst for your spiritual growth. These events are the ultimate catalyst. I was just invited today to a Mormon Christmas party, and it's a real mild one, and you guys know I don't celebrate Christmas, but you better believe I'm going to go, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to be loving and compassionate and validating, and I'm going to accept other people's beliefs and understand that I'm not meant to change anything. That's most important about Christmas, is that you're not meant to change others' beliefs. In the spiritual community, what I'm noticing is a degree of friction that's going on about the New Age communities, wherein many people in our communities are going towards people who aren't in the 3D, more religious communities and saying, you shouldn't celebrate Christmas. You shouldn't believe in Jesus. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. If you're doing that, that's not a true spiritual path either. Okay, that is resistance, and there's a reason why that's happening to you. So go into why you hate the holidays so bad if that's the case. Because even Yeshua has stated that even though that is not his birthday, that's specifically what he stated to me, that was not his birthday and not anywhere close, that he agrees that humans should find reasons to celebrate. So if you would like to find a reason to celebrate, you could do it on Christmas, but you could do it on any other day of the year. But please don't take away other people's abilities to celebrate on any given day of the year, Christmas or not. Namaste.